Hey everybody, this week's Torah portion is Parshas Naso. And in this week's Torah portion we find a very interesting law, which is the law of the Nazir. It is somebody who decides he wants to become closer to God and focus more on his spiritual side. And the Torah gives us certain guidelines for somebody who wants to become a very spiritually enhanced person. And one of those is that he must let his hair grow long, and that for the entire time that he decides to take on this spiritual upgrade. And at the end of his spiritual journey, he has to cut his hair off and shave his entire head. Now, why is it that when somebody wants to become more spiritual, the Torah tells us first let the hair grow long and then shave it all off? The 3rd century Chinese warlord Cao Cao was a very strict disciplinarian. And he was very, very into his rules. He always said that if you make a rule, you have to follow through no matter what. And one of the rules in his army was that no one was allowed to walk on any fields. So if you were riding your horse and you were a soldier of his, you couldn't damage any fields or anything that was growing that was edible, because it would ruin the economy. And one day, as it happens, his horse, while he wasn't paying attention, reared off to the side and started stomping on some grains. And because he was such a strict disciplinarian, he decided to put the punishment on himself, and he said that just as his soldiers are required at pain of death to keep the orders, so too is he himself required at pain of death to keep the orders, and he gave orders to have himself killed. And his men were very upset about this, because this was their leader. Finally, they were bargaining back and forth until they decided that they were going to cut off his hair instead of kill him, and that would be his punishment. That was as if he was dead. Now, why was cutting off his hair as if he was dead? Because for many people, their identity is placed very strongly on their physical attributes. So when a person thinks about themselves, often the first thing they think about is the way they look. What the Torah is telling us is that if you want to become a spiritual person, it's not your physical looks are not what's important, it's what's on the inside. And in order to help us remind us of that, the Torah tells us, shave off the head, let it grow, first let it grow, then shave it off, so that the focus becomes not so much being concerned with what a person looks like, as much as what a person is like. By taking our focus off of our hair and off of our physical features, we get a chance to focus more on the spiritual, and that's the lesson really of the Nazir. The lesson of the Nazir is, sometimes it's important for small periods, for sure, at least, to take a little time out and focus more on what we are, not what we look like. On behalf of Makar, Shabbat Shalom.